Welcome to the chaos. I feel like low-key, because I didn't even realize I was doing this, but we're just so drawn to patterns because last year at this time I did a bookshelf reorganization. In my space, I used to have one bookshelf and then I had book stacks everywhere. I had book stacks surrounding my writing desk, and on those book stacks I would have like little planters because I thought I was quirky, cool, and fun. And then one night I was sitting here and I'm like, I am a 33-year-old woman. I do not need book stacks everywhere. And I really wanted everything to have a home. I've also kind of been on this journey where I don't want things to look cluttered. So I impulse bought a second shelf and yesterday they came in to anchor it to the wall. So the shelves are here. Last time I was being very tentative. I was just dipping a toe into the rework. But this time we're going full force. I pulled all of the books off all of the shelves except for these shelves here. These shelves, they're okay. My bottom shelf here is socio-political nonfiction. Then above that is my Toni Morrison collection. She's perfect, she's beautiful, there's nothing wrong with her. She can stay the way she is. And then that top shelf I've reorganized to be my Irish fiction section because I had acquired a lot of Irish books and I just wanted to have them together. So those I think are fine. So all of the stacks that were once surrounding that little table, they're here. All the books that were on the bookshelf are here. And then I did have a little IKEA bookshelf that I reassigned as an end table. It's kind of hidden away next to my couch, and that's sort of my surplus, my overflow. All the books on that shelf have been pulled as well. The last time I did this, I think the question that I was asking, because I had stacks and I had a hidden bookshelf, I had books just everywhere. I was sort of asking what makes a book a bookshelf book and what makes a book like a hidden book or a book that I can tuck away for a little bit. And I think I've decided that I'm going to try to lean into my tastes. And so all of the books that I'm going to have on my shelf or on display are going to be like literary fiction books, contemporary fiction that I'm interested in, and then any genre fiction that I have, I think I'm going to tuck into the hidden shelf that I have. We'll do some unhauling because I don't want to keep all of these books. So I'll look to see what I want to keep and what I don't think I'll read, and I'll work to donate that before the end of the year. We'll do a little organization. We'll put everything on the shelves and then we'll do a little tour just so I can share the books that I have. Okay. Have I mentioned that I've been dreading this? I've been dreading this. I'm overthinking it. Stop overthinking. Okay. Books, I'm gonna keep, it makes more sense to put them there because it's closer to the actual bookshelf. So let's do that. No, we're keeping that. No, we're keeping that. Let me do a keep and unhaul pile for every pile. This is my downfall. I overthink every single thing. So far, I've only unhauled 2 books. This is not going how I expected this to go. So let me just bring these over here. I'm a little bit confused now. Ow! I forgot that I had this! Pedro gave this to me. Okay, this is why this is also important, because I can audit my TBR and make it reflective of the things that I actually want to read. I've been wanting to read this for so long. Writer that I've wanted to read for a long time. I have like a couple of her books. I've never once picked her up. I believe this is like a murder story. Yeah, nearly a decade after the horrifying murder, a journalist has written the definitive account of the crime, but how much of the story is true? I feel like a lot of my favorites really like Eliza Clark. One of my intentions this year was to read more philosophy, and I picked this book up, which is like looking at different women philosophers, and I've tried to read it like 3 times and I haven't been able to get into it, and then I just dropped that whole intention because the one book that I couldn't get into. I don't know. I think I tried to read it on Kindle and then I tried to read it on audio and those didn't work, but I haven't tried to read it physically, so we'll try once more. If not, it'll get unhauled next year. Really wanted to read this book for a long time. I haven't. I have to. I was sent this a long time ago in 2022 and I read a bonsai. This one. I read this one by him and I liked it, but I liked it because it was like experimental and weird and like made me think, and I was saying that maybe I want to read more Sambra, but like I hadn't really been urging it, but this sounds really interesting. I have to like put that on the front. I know I said this last time I did this, that I was going to try to shop my shelves and read more from what I own, but I really this year want to shop my shelves. I'm hoping that the new shelf is like an inspiration. Yeah, like these sound really good and I've just been letting them pile up apparently since 2022. I bought this book because every year I read an Allende, or I read a Spanish book, but usually it's Allende. I started this one and really liked it because it was about these old people. There was one line in here where it says, ella tenía un antojo para seducir. I want that tattooed on my body. I think there are like certain lines and it's about like this older woman who has this crush on this older man and like, will they fuck? Who knows? And then it just got really weird and it's so disappointing because I just want to learn about this old lady and her crush on Richard. It's interesting though, there's like a undocumented Guatemalan girl and they're talking about like the history in Guatemala, which is interesting. One that I have to determine if I'm gonna go back to or not. Here's my other Eliza Clark book. This one is a short story collection that is coming out, just came out in November 2024. I have to get on the Clark train. Me gustó este libro bastante. This is an essay collection by Daniel Sadaña Paris. Hello.
Picture?
No.
Have you seen Tara Banks, a model, supermodel, childhood picture? Have you seen Beyonce?
What's happening? I feel like I'm gonna need a caffeinated beverage soon. Oh, this one was sent over. Steph's combination of memoir and criticism. She interrogates her cultural identity, her relationships with depression, and the necessary and painful ways that books can push back on the readers who love them. Interested in that? Another book that I really want to read. This is by a Dominican writer, Rita Indiana. These have to go in my Irish collection, but I don't know what the weight limit on these hanging shelves are, so I might have to reconsider placement of that. But this is Ruth and Penn, which I got in Galway when I went, and then I got this one recently when I was in Boston, The Prophet Song. Another Eliza Clark, I'm telling y'all. These are some books that I would really like to get to in 2025. So I've still only read Second Place by Rachel Cusk. I want to read Outline, the trilogy. This George Saunders book I really want to get into. This book was very buzzy, but like rightfully so, and was doing really interesting things, and I was like, I want to read it. And when I tried to read it, I was like really overwhelmed, and then I meant to go back to it, and then I never went back to it. And like, I feel like this is a really important one to read, so I have to get to that one. And then I really want to read was this the one? No, not this one. This one. I really want to read Self-Help by Lori Moore. I also want to read Marilyn Robinson, but like this one I really want to get to. I don't know. I used to have like a little TBR section. I have to think about like what I want to do in terms of TBR. Do we want like one pile in the apartment just for TBR books? That kind of defeats the purpose of not having piles. But the way that this unhaul is going, I'm like concerned that not all of these books are going to fit on the shelves. And if that's the case, I'm going to be highly upset. One thing is that I got like shelves because I was taking a pottery class. I wanted to show off the few pieces that were not atrocious. So I got one shelf to put the pieces. It came in a set of 2. So worst case, I can maybe like mount a random shelf somewhere and put like a TBR pile. Maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself. Let's see where this sort of leaves us. Unacceptable that I haven't read this. I have 2 copies of Intermezzo. Do I unhaul it? This is one that like I saw a lot of buzz around. I wouldn't naturally gravitate towards it because it's like sweeping and about landscapes and things, but like everyone who's read it has loved it. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like my cup of tea. I might unhaul that. I'll think about it. Old enough. This is like a coming of age. I just remember reading this and being like, this is extremely Gen Z. It kind of reminded me of that show on HBO, Sex Lives of College Girls, but I like watching it. I don't know if I like reading it. So no sé. I'll keep it for now. This is a book that I really need to get to as soon as possible. This is A Spell of Good Things by Ayobami Adebayo. The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings. This is a piercing social commentary reminiscent of Shirley Jackson and Octavia Butler from the acclaimed author of Lakewood. Thing is, I've not read Shirley Jackson or Octavia Butler. I'm gonna unhaul that. Would really like to get to this one, Berlin by B. Satin. It's one of these like plotless books that I love. It's another one that I really need to read because it was really interesting when I picked it up and then I just never finished it. I think I was intimidated by her size. This one is When We Lost Our Heads by Heather O'Neill. This is like a female friendship book. The opening scene is interesting. Kairos by Jenny Erpenbeck. This is I think like a age gap affair. Yeah, like a young girl falls in love with an older dude. My catnip. Oh, this is one that I want to read. This is Elsewhere Stories by Yan Gi. And this one, this highly anticipated English language debut is further proof that Yan is a generational literary talent to be watched closely for decades to come, weaving between reality and dream surreality. These 9 stories wend towards elsewhere, a comforting, frustrating, just out of reach place familiar to anyone who has ever experienced longing. That sounds really interesting. When I got it, I was really interested to read it, and as things go, I didn't pick it up, but I would really like to in 2025. We have my James Baldwin collection, Notes of a Native Son, If Beale Street Could Talk, The Fire Next Time, Giovanni's Room, and Go Tell It on the Mountain. Can I tell you a secret? I have tried to read Giovanni's Room and If Beale Street Could Talk a couple of times, and I've not been able to get into it. I don't know what it is. My brain just like refuses. Like, for some reason his fiction is hard for me to get into. I need to like actually try. Maybe like, I don't know. I have to set up a system to actually, I'm gonna try to do Giovanni's Room next year. I actually got a really nice box set from the publisher. I don't know if I need 2. Oh, that's a good point. I don't know if I need 2 copies of these. I know that this one was gifted to me by someone on Instagram, so I have to see. I'm going to put these in the unhaul pile. Not that I'm unhauling them, but I think I have doubles, so I need to make sure I only keep 1 set of the books. I definitely know I don't have Native Son though, so these can go here. I think I have this. I think I have all, well, this one is special to me. This one I lent to an ex-boyfriend, and then we broke up, and I was like, hey, we don't need to talk, but you need to send me back my Fire Next Time. And he sent it back, so grateful for that. He also had my Kiese layman, because I try to educate the people, you know, but I was very scared that I would not see those again. The piano teacher, I remember hearing Anna Johnson talk about this and how wild it was, and I was intrigued. I think it's just about like this weird, passionate relationship between a piano teacher and a student. I don't know, but I'm into it. Nana Kwame wrote Chain Gang All-Stars, and I absolutely love that book. And he was having a conversation with Sarah Thinkum Matthews at Greenlight bookstore in Brooklyn in Fort Greene. And I was like, I'm not gonna buy anything, and then I ended up buying both of their books. Brenya has put readers on notice. His remarkable range, ingenious premise, and unflagging momentous voice make this a first-rate collection. I think he just like brings to light absurdities and injustices in these systems, so very excited for this. I had to switch over to my iPhone because the camera overheated. Everyone is overwhelmed by this task, including my technology. All right, I'm gonna just try to do this quickly because we're taking a lot of time. I am so tired, like the sun is setting, and so I'm like setting as well. 3, 2, wow. All right, I'm gonna stop yapping. I can't deal with this mess anymore. So I need to, you know, I've been looking for this book for like 3 years. Oh, here is Nocturno en Chile. The books here are books that I'm keeping. All the books there are the books that I'm unhauling. It's not that big an unhaul pile, but whatever. Progress is progress. Let me show you. These books here will get unhauled. Now I just have to organize these. So before I had like short story collection, Spanish collection, favorites, journals, and then I had like fiction and nonfiction, and I think I just want to extend that so that it goes throughout the entire length of the shelf. I think I'm going to try to make piles of genres because I also have to put some books up on here, and then once those piles are created, then it'll be easier to just put them up on the shelf. So let's do that. So I have these like spirituality, love, community, friendship, yoga books, or Eastern teachings. I think all of those are gonna go on the bottom shelf. Ooh, I should maybe have a section for essay collections. I don't know how many essay collections I have though, but maybe a few. Spanish language collection as well. Ooh, and I think I'm also gonna make a classics section. So, classics. Should I make a translated fiction section? Maybe. Okay, so then I have like nonfiction, like, what are these called? Memoirs? And then I have nonfiction, like, self-help, I guess you would call it. Do I put those together? Let's put a pile of nonfiction and then we can do subgroups of that. Guys, I'm over this. I wonder if I should just start putting them on the shelves. I just had the thought to maybe organize it alphabetically, but who do I think I am? Absolutely not. But I might just start putting my fiction here because I'm already here and I think it's easier. And then we can like organize it from the shelf. It's only 4:30. It feels like midnight. Sorry. She's looking like a hot mess. She's looking kind of crazy and I'm a little bit concerned. Ay, ay, ay. I have a dilemma. I have a dilemma. I have a dilemma. This is all fiction. This is fiction. Still have more fiction books to put on the shelves, but I don't have space, so I don't know what to do. I'm gonna shift Spanish language to the top shelf. I'm getting tired. I'm gonna try to rearrange everything on the shelf. Buenas noches. Hasta mañana. We'll see each other. Did it. Here they are. Aren't they pretty? I ended up putting up my little poster because I don't know, I just wanted to see the space done. This I'm going to replace. So I want to get like a nice wooden writing desk and a nice chair. But this is the space. It feels so much nicer. It feels a lot less cluttered. And then we have a semi-system going. The amount it takes for me to like make it across my bookshelf brings me so much joy. But okay, a lot of these I got when I was in Mexico City. Oh, let me bring my stool. Let's make this like a reading rainbow. Now we're official. Brenda Navarro, she's like a feminist-y writer. I have a lot of Netero, and by a lot I mean two. So this is El Cuerpo en que Nací, which is really good. It reminded me of Ferrante a little bit. Everyone reminds me of Ferrante. The voice of the character, it's not like a child narrator, but the voice and also the explorations, like what exactly she was exploring, the sort of humanity and unsaid things she said about her mother and her family felt very Ferrante. I feel like my code, whenever I say something is Ferrante, it's just like saying the unsayable kind of exploration. And La Hija Única, which I still have in its cling wrap, I really would like to read this in Spanish. I have the English version. I originally read it in English, but I have my Clarice Lispector, Sam Allende, Rivera Garza. Then I have Gabriel Garcia Marquez book. So I put all the Spanish ones here. I thought I had an English one. Where is it? Oh, I put it here. Let me move that. So I got this one when I was in Ireland, and this is like my very beat up copy of Love in the Time of Cholera. I absolutely adore this book and have not yet read this book, but I saw that Netflix is doing an adaptation of it and I kind of want to watch the adaptation. Oh my gosh. I want to watch the adaptation of this before, I want to read this before I watch the adaptation of it. And I was thinking the same thing with Como Agua para Chocolate. So that's like Water for Chocolate by... ¿Cómo se llama la señora? Laura Esquivel. So I was listening to it and the audiobook is awful quality and I felt like it would take me too long to read. So I started watching the HBO show last night and it's really beautiful. If you guys are interested in like a magical realism-y, like transportive story of a girl fighting against all of the constraints put on her life and like love and all that, it's really good. It's really beautifully shot. Yeah, there are all these like wonderful adaptations coming out, but I like want to read the originals before delving into that. But I'm gonna keep watching the HBO show for Como Agua para Chocolate because it's beautiful. I have my Borges Ficciones. I would love to read this. I'm gonna put that here. Alejandro Zambra, Mario Vargas Llosa, Yuri Herrera. This is not mine, but Mariana Enriquez, Valeria Luiselli, Bolaño, and Moreno. So that's the cool international section. Not really international, just like, you know what I mean by international? Yeah. Here we have classics. F. Scott Fitzgerald, Jamaica Kincaid. I have Lolita, Anais Nin, Maud Martha, Kate Chopin, Virginia Woolf. I have Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't know if that counts as a classic. Kind of feel like it does, so it'll stay there. I have Charlotte Bronte, I have a couple of Hemingways, Oscar Wilde, Sylvia Plath, Austen, Ralph Ellison, John Steinbeck, Toni Cade Bambara, Larson, what's her first name? It's not Emma Larson. What's her first name? Nella. I was close. And George Eliot. Well, this should go with the other Kincaids. I have a couple of craft books. I don't regularly write, but I once dreamt of writing. Some books that I haven't read, but I have Bird by Bird. I have The Writing Life by Annie Dillard. I have the Stephen King writing book, I think. Oh, I don't. Oh yeah, I do. On writing. Like I still hold some of the lessons from that book to this day in writing that's not creative. I have A Horse at Night here, which I absolutely love, by Amina Kane, and that was like the Uno reverse card I wasn't expecting because I really did not like Indelicacy. Okay, so then we have James Baldwin. We have the collection of his fiction. I have a few of his nonfiction. I have the Ernots. Ernaut is a writer who talks about the ugly realities of obsession and infatuation. He's very occupied with the idea and integrity of memory, but also maintaining the integrity of these very emotional events, but in an unemotional way. So her writing is really interesting. I really liked these three. So this was about her abortion, The Happening. Simple Passion was about an affair, and The Possession was about her ex getting with a new woman and like her obsession with that new partner. I really, really enjoyed these, but then I read A Girl Story, which was like a look at her journal, and it felt too meandery for me. And then I also just read A Young Man, which is about her affair with a younger man, and there were some ideas in there that were interesting, but I don't know if I'm becoming like, what's the word? Sanded down? Or, no, that's not the word. like less sensitive to the magic over no, and I think that's a little bit blasphemous to say. I just haven't encountered one that I liked in a while. I have Shame here and I have Getting Lost. I keep hearing great things about this one, so I may try this one next and see what my feelings are about Miss or No. I have Ferrante here. She needs no introduction. I just recently finished watching the last season of the show on HBO. I was like rewatching seasons 2 and 3, and I am just again reminded how brilliant this woman is, and I hope she gives us something new. I haven't heard any whisperings about her, but I'm really hoping that she does. The Neapolitan Quartet. I have some of her standalone books. I have The Days of Abandonment, The Lost Daughter, and her nonfiction in the margins. I also have Fractumalia, which is another nonfiction of hers. The Lying Life of Adults, which first I've tried to get into this book like 3 times and it's not working for me. I do always try it on Kindle, and sometimes like that matters. So I'm gonna try to like sit down with the book physically and try to read it. We have Ali Smith Seasonal Quartet. I have Jhumpa Lahiri. I think I have all of her books. I have all of her short stories, her novels, and then her nonfiction, and then I have some Zora Neale Hurston, Her Eyes Are Watching God, and then she also had a couple of short story collections. This one came out, I remember, like during the pandemic. It's a collection of her short stories. Spunk, this is an older collection. I remember when I was reading Joanna Biggs's book, she did a essay on Zora Neale Hurston, and it really re-inspired me to revisit Zora's work. That's something that I'd really like to do. And then we have the essay collection, which is actually a pretty exciting collection for me. I have so I have essays, right? And then I have literary essays. So I don't have it here, but I would say like Too Much and Not the Mood is a literary essay collection, Bluettes, Little Weirds, things like that. So those are like between the essays and the short stories. And then we have the short stories going here. In the beginning of the fiction section, so I have a bunch of Sigrid Nunez here. This one, I think Sarah told me that she really liked this book. So I'm excited to get into My Men. I don't know what it's about though. Oh, Female Serial Killer. Mother in the Dark is also a book that I've been trying to read for the past like 2 winters and have not gotten through it. I got pretty far the first time I started reading it, and it was like this mother-daughter exploration. The daughters are trying to understand the mother. It was interesting. I just have to get back to it. It feels like a very wintry book. This one was on the New York Times top 10 books of 2024, and I was a little bit shocked. Dolly Alderton is I really like her. I really enjoyed Ghosts. I think that's the only book that I've read by her, but this doesn't seem like a New York Times pick. I was wondering if it had to do with the books that they chose had to do with the publisher, but I don't think that's that. So yeah, this one was on it. I have to read it. I'm excited too. I have some Alba de Céspedes, and then I have some Irish men. I have The Prophet Song. I have 2 Ronan Hessian books, Panenka and Ghost Mountain. And then I have 1 Carl Geary, because my other Carl Geary is in my little favorites section, and a Donald Ryan, The Spinning Heart. Plottier fiction, things like Susan Abu Hawa, Angie Cruz, Jorge Amado. I have like a mix of fantasy, sci-fi. I put a lot of the collections back there. Like I had a really sizable Ursula Le Guin collection, and I'm not sure how that happened. I think it's because anytime a publisher offers it, I'm like, oh, I really want to read Ursula Le Guin, so I'll always take it. But then like I've never read one. So I really want to read The Dispossessed, which I have here. And I really would like to read Octavia Butler. I also have a lot of her books, but I've never read her. I have one of each, like a little taster. This is like a horror book by Stephen Graham Jones, The Only Good Indians. I've been wanting to read Sorrow and Bliss for a while. I have that here. They're There by Tommy Orange. I've not read anything by them, so I have to get to this. Bert Bennett, I really wanted to read Vanishing Half for a bit, haven't gotten to it. I would love to do that soon. Patricia Engel, she's a Colombian writer. I haven't read her yet. Tomb of Sand is, I don't know, I got Arundhati Roy on Shroom vibes. Like she's very experimental, and her prose kind of felt like it was cartwheeling everywhere, and it was like hard to pin down. I feel like a little bit less tolerant of that as I get, not as I get older, but just as I have less time for reading. But this was such an interesting, like the prose is really interesting, so I'd love to get back to this. As we move on, I have a bit of African fiction. I have Glory. I'm not sure what Glory is about. She Would Be King, I think is like a retelling of Liberia. I'm making that up. I don't know what this one's about. It was really highly recommended to me. Yeah, it is about Liberia. Oh my god. I really have wanted to read Thiongo for a bit, so I have Battles of Blood. There are a couple of other books by this writer that I'd really like to read. The Kenyan writer. I have two Ishiguro books, and then it gets more literary fiction on that end. So we have Brandon Taylor, Caleb Azuma Nelson. I really want to get to this one. This a novel about endings. Ooh. I'm really obsessed with the idea of endings. Ends of things and what comes after those ends, so I'm really excited for that. I was sent Audition by Kitamura. I really, really loved Intimacies. I was excited for anything new that she was coming out with. I started it though, and it's about like actors, or there's like some age gap stuff going on. I wasn't like as pulled in as I was with Intimacies, but I'm going to give it a shot because I really like 80s writing. This one is one I'm also really excited about. This one is Whoever You Are, Honey. I think Olivia Gatwood is a poet. This darkly brilliant debut novel explores how women build themselves beneath the gaze of love, friendship, and the algorithm, showcasing Olivia Gatwood as a thrilling feminist voice for our hyper-digital age. I'm really excited to read this one. It was just like bad timing. I hadn't had the time to pick it up, but I would love to get to that soon. Then here beneath the little pothos curtain, I have my Sheila Heti, Eliza Clark, Marilyn Robinson, Rachel Cusk, and this chick, Kate Zambrino. I have to, I think, go through this a little bit better, but I have like my Alicia Garza book. This is a book that made sense for me, what activism means today. She sort of looks at it through the Black Lives Matter movement. This really helped me understand how different political parties organize and why some are more successful than others. This Wayward Lives, Beautiful Experiments is a book that I need to get to. It's an intimate history of riotous Black girls, troublesome women, I can't speak, and queer radicals. It's just like archives of women who are often pushed to the shadows. And Saidiya Hartman is a gorgeous writer. Negroland, another book that I would really love to read. This is by Margot Jefferson, and I think it's like looking at, I was gonna say bourgeois Black life. I keep thinking that's what this book is about. It is. Upper crust Black Chicago, reckoning with strictures and demands of Negroland at crucial historical moments, the civil rights movement, the dawn of feminism, the fallacy of post-racial America. Jefferson brilliantly charts the twists and turns of a life informed by psychological and moral contradictions. Aware as it is of heart-wrenching despair and depression, this book is a triumphant paean. I don't know what that word is. To the grace of perseverance. I have this book, Big Friendship. It's one of my favorite books. Aminatou Sow and Anne Friedman. The thing that like compelled me, so they used to have a podcast and they used to just like talk about friends. So they had like a business together, and when they were going through tumult in their friendship, they went to couples therapy together. Like these two friends went to couples therapy. I really like how they conceptualize friendship, the maintenance of friendship, the difficulties, what we should be aspiring to in our friendships. I absolutely adore this book. I would love to pass this on to other women. And then in the same vein, I have Danielle Bayard Jackson's book, Fighting for Our Friendships. This is someone, because they have sort of, they like stopped doing their podcast, have sort of like bleared into the ether, but she is someone who's like really active about presenting research on friendships, the maintenance of friendships, like what do we do when we are having tiffs in our friendships, and the importance of connection amongst women. So yeah, like if you're looking for friendship books as an intention for 2025, I recommend these. Here we have some more literary fiction. I like went out of order. I have my Vivian Gornick book. She's someone who I'm like so fascinated by, but I've never read anything by her. For many years, I walked 6 miles a day. I walked clear my head, experience street life, dispel afternoon depression. During those walks, I daydreamed incessantly. Sometimes I daydreamed the past, idealizing remembered moments of love or praise, but mostly I daydreamed the future. The tomorrow in which I would write a book of enduring value, meet the companion of my life, become the woman of character I had to become. Ah, that tomorrow. How wonderfully its energetic projections got me through innumerable days of wasteful passivity. Then, just as I was turning 60, an unusual development sent this cozy setup into a tailspin. I feel like I've heard a lot about Vivian Gornick, and I've been really curious about her, and I've not read anything yet. So the Odd Woman in the City is definitely something that I like to get to. Man, I have so many books that I want to read. I just requested some books from the library. It's hard to like manage, because I don't ever want to like prevent myself from reading things that I like hear about and want to read. Like I just requested, so I kept trying to read A Little Luck by Claudia Pinheiro, and I couldn't get into it. It's a lot about place, and I don't think I like reading her talk about place. The new book that she has, the Fly one, the pink one, is like a continuation of All Yours, which I read earlier this year. It sounds really good, and I like Inez. I like that character. I like being with that character. So I was like, oh, let me borrow it. And I was like, you should do what you're gonna say and like pick up books from your shelf. I'm going on a tangent, but I don't know how to manage that tension. Mild Vertigo by Mieko Kanai. I got this a while ago from New Directions. It sounded really interesting. Very like experimental musings on capitalism and motherhood. Domesticity, I'm sorry. And motherhood. Clarice Lispector, The Nursery, Banal Nightmare, which I've seen such mixed reviews about, but it has been blurbed by Gia Tolentino, my queen, so I will be reading this one. I think it's just like about this woman hating on everyone she knows. I tried to read the one about work. What's that one? The Millennial? I tried to read a Hallie Butler book, and I had to stop it because I was like, this is a little too much. I don't know. I'm gonna give this one a shot for sure. Absolutely loved this book by Allison Mills Newman. Very like lyrical, contemplating the 70s and the Black arts movement in Chicago. Even the foreword of this, which was written by Sadio Hartman, is absolutely stunning. So really recommend this one. Gloria Naylor is also a writer that I have to get into. I believe this one is about friendship. It's a short story. No, it's a novel in 7 stories. You see, these are messing with my organization. But I'll keep this one here. This is like a queer little novella about a woman falling in love with another woman for the first time. It was like republished or re-released. Here's another book that was buzzy at one point in like 2019. It's blurbed by Jenny Awful. This one is Topics of Conversation by Miranda Popke. I don't know what it's about. Intimate evisceration of our narrow imaginings of female sexuality. A brilliantly structured character study and a book that repeatedly asks how women can fully trust their own desires when they've grown up steeped in the wrong stories. That sounds really good. Okay. The Golden Notebook by Doris Lessing. I got this book because one of my favorite books of the year, Monsters by Claire Dederer. I was obsessed with that piece of that book. And so naturally I bought The Golden Notebook. I who have never known men. I have tried to read this book like 4 times and have not been able to get into it, and I'm not sure that I like it. I feel like I just have to get past the beginning of it. Yeah, that's my unpopular opinion in this book video. I have Woman Destroyed, Babbitts. These were like very, I guess like Eve Babbitts, it's a classic, but the more I hear it, because I feel like recently the new book Joan and Eve came out. Is that what it's called? Vidian and Babbitts, whatever. And there's been a lot of buzz around these 2 writers, and the more I hear about Babbitts, like the less I care. I don't really care about a woman frolicking in the 70s. I don't know, but maybe eventually one day I'll read it because everyone really likes Black Swan. People also really like Eve's Hollywood, but I don't know. Absolute favorite of mine, Dogs of Summer by Andrea Abreu. This is a story about 2 friends growing up in the Canary Islands, and it's gross and it's very corporal. One of them is working towards feelings of obsession with the other, and they have this one part where they're at an internet cafe and they talk about El Messenger, and the way that Julia Sanchez translates this book is its own work of art. Like, I think that's where I became obsessed with following translators and sort of reading through their catalogs, because a lot of the books that Julia has translated I have really loved. Well, I guess they should go up there, right? Let's move that if there's space. This is another book that I pulled out and then didn't mention what it's about. This is The Ex-Wife by Ursula Parrott. These are one of the McNally books that have been republished or re-released. An instant bestseller when it was published anonymously. This is a story of divorce and its aftermath, which scandalized the jazz age. And you know me, I love an ending. I love breakup book and anti-romance, so I've heard really great things about this and I'm really excited to read it. If you want a book on yearning, this book was crazy. Yeah, and then we have Estelle Perel here, Bell Hooks, some Brene Brown, Eckhart Tolle, Rumi, what's this guy's name? The Dalai Lama. Just like a mishmash of stuff. And then some of the memoirs I have are Jen Winston's Greedy. It's a memoir on being bisexual. I have this book that I have not yet read, More, a memoir of an open marriage by Molly Roden-Winter, which just details her exploration of being in an open marriage. Ta-Nehisi Coates, The World Between Us. No, Between the World and Me. This is like a letter that he writes to his son, and it made me cry at Riverbank Park at like 7 o'clock in the morning. This is absolutely beautiful. I know that he just came out with another book. Wild by Cheryl Strayed. This made me want to hike the Pacific Crest Trail alone, but I would love to do a section hike. But yeah, this sort of awoke me to that desire. I have 2 Olivia Langs. I have a book about freedom and The Lonely City. I actually just got my audiobook hold for this today. I might start listening to that. If you haven't read P.S.A. Lehman, get on that. He is a writer who writes about loving and being vulnerable and revision as a practice, not only in his writing but in his life. This is an excellent memoir, In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. This is talking about an abusive relationship and how we sort of catalog and navigate abuse when it's between 2 women and when no bruises are left. When it's like emotional and verbal abuse, how do you prove that it's a real thing, and how do you extricate yourself from that? The way that the book is structured is like really fascinating as well. I remember, yeah, this like took me for a ride. I have her short story collection. I don't remember what it's called, but she's like an amazing writer. I haven't heard from her either. I hope she comes back to us. That's it. Thanks so much for hanging out while I tackle this task. I hope y'all are doing well. I think that's it. Bye.